Alright, so you should have typed in the code from page 36 in the book, and when you finish typing in the code from the book, it should look like this. So you'll notice that you've got a lot of red squiggles on this code, and the red represent errors that in this code. If you tried to debug this program right now, you'll get this error that says there are build errors. And anytime you get this error about build errors, always say no, that you don't want to run it, because then what happens is it tells you down here where the errors are. So it says cannot open the IO stream. So if I double click on that error, you'll notice that my cursor moves to the top of the screen and it shows me there's an error on this line. So the error is that I can't have the .h. So these are things that we talked about the last class. So every time I fix an error, I have to debug it again. So I debug it again, I get more errors, and you'll notice I have the same error down here. Now, if I take off the .h, the error goes away. Notice the red squiggle went away. But remember on the last program, we used quotes. So you'll notice that quotes will also work. So you can do it either way. Okay, the next thing that you'll notice here right below that, I put in the include standard io.h. That was not in the book. So if you want to go ahead and add that in and scroll down here to the bottom and put that system pause in. So the system pause should always go before the return 0, and remember that system pause is just going to pause the screen temporarily so I can see the output. So we're going to debug it now. And we still get build errors. So we're going to say no, and you'll notice I have these other errors here. So it's telling me that cout, if I double click on the error, it's telling me that cout is undefined. It doesn't know what it is, undeclared. So, and you'll notice that cin and also cout down here and also the endels, they're all messed up. So the reason for that is because of this line here that I told you about that is specific to Visual Studio. And that line makes all of the header files that are built in work. So you've got to make sure that you always put that using namespace command in your programs. And you'll notice as soon as I did that, all of those red squiggles went away throughout the whole program. So another thing that I changed before I run it is I changed this to 7 for the loop limit for no particular reason other than I want to show you some examples of some stuff. So we're going to run the program now, and notice that we don't get any errors, and it comes up and it asks us to enter numbers. So we're going to enter the numbers 1, 2, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So it let me enter 7, it let me enter 7 numbers. I typed 2 twice. So if I add those numbers together, 1 plus 2 is 3, 3 plus 2 is 5, 5 plus 3 is 8, 8 plus 4 is 12, plus 5 is 17, plus 6 is 21. So I'm sorry, 22. So what happens is it takes that sum, which is 22, and it divides by 7, and it comes up with an average of 3.29, which is correct. So I want to show you something, a couple things on here. So what happens if I take away this double right here? So if I take away the double on this, so one of the things I want you to notice, and I'm going to show you really quickly what happens, is the very first number it says enter a number. What if I typed 1.2? You'll notice that everything just messes up. If you read it carefully, it's just saying enter a number, enter a number, enter a number. And then it gives you some average and some value for the scores. So let's figure out what's happening there. So 1.2 has a decimal value, and integers, which are right here, integers do not allow you to have decimals. So when I typed in that decimal for that integer, it didn't know how to handle it, so it just sort of messed up. So you just have to look at your programs each time and see what happens with that. Okay, so let's see what else happens. I'm going to type the exact same numbers that I did before. 1, 2, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. But this time it's showing my average as a 3.0 instead of 3.29. And 3 times 7 is just 21, but the sum of these numbers is 22. So what happens is by making this number so that it's not a double, the computer doesn't know how to handle the fact that it's going to get a decimal and it gives you an integer answer. So a couple of ways that I could fix that would be to come in like we did before, and this is called typecasting, and that's when I'm putting the value that I want it to be in front of this. Sorry about that. So the double there makes it so that it will have decimal values. So some of the other things that I want to look at here is like, what if I set the precision here to 4? How is that going to change my code? So when I set the precision to 4 and then I run my program again, you'll notice that I have 4 decimal places after the decimal. So that's what the precision does. Here I said set W10 for the averages. What if I set W20? What would that do? So we'll run it again. And we'll do the same numbers. Whoops, I did different numbers, it doesn't matter. And you'll notice that this is bumped over a little bit. So before the average was a little bit closer maybe. I'm not sure if that's bumped over or not. So what the set W does is it sets up a column width for the averages. So let's make it really obvious. What if I make this 40? Okay, so notice how it's bumped over even more. So this set W is affecting the thing right after it, the average. What if I change this to 20? So what's going to happen now is it's going to space the number farther away from the words. So you can see how they're spaced out more. So that's how the set W is working. And then the indel we talked about in the last example where the indel moves it to the next line and does things like that. So here's another thing. There's this thing here called set iOS flags, fixed, show point, and right. So let's change the right and let's make it left. How is that going to impact our program? So we're going to do the same numbers. And notice what happened here is instead of the words, the averages being over here under the word enter, it's on the left side. It left justifies the output. But there's still 20 spaces here. So, I'm sorry, not 20, 40 spaces. So from the letter T to the space right before this 3 is a total of 40 spaces. And so the 40 column width is still in there, but the data in the column is left justified. So sort of imagine it being like a spreadsheet in there. Okay. The other thing you'll notice here is that we have a constant that's called loop limit. And so the advantage of the constant is that I can change that, and if I wanted to just make it 5 numbers, now I can run the program with just 5 numbers and I don't have to do more work than maybe necessary. So now I'm only typing in 5 numbers and it's finding the average. So I hope this helps. I want you to play around with yours and you're going to get that working and print it out.